Hi guys, John Flores again. Here we go with the next part, which is when I left RCA and went independent. Boy, nobody was prepared or ill-prepared like I was to go independent. My goodness gracious. I didn't have the personality for it. I didn't have the business skills for it. I didn't have anything. I just thought if you had a good track record, they'd hire you. It's kind of like your resume's excellent, so people will hire you. No. So my biggest mistake, and I'm going to break some very outdated news right now to you, is choosing Al Schlesinger to be my attorney when I left RCA. Why is that? He was my RCA boss's attorney, and my RCA boss sent me to him. And my RCA boss, Joe Reisman, and Al Schlesinger, I believe, purposely, and I can't prove that, so don't legally come after me, it's just an opinion, they undermined my going independent by not following through on the deals that I had pending when I left RCA. Okay, I told you about the coming out party that Carol and I paid for that was held at the RCA studios. Full orchestra, 3 major conductors, 3 black acts. I was hot within the industry. We came out of pocket, Carol and I, which was a dim bulb, moronic move to come out of pocket for anything. And we sent invitations to people in the record industry, asked them to come hear these 3 acts with full orchestra and 3 conductors conducting the whole proceedings. We had the thing catered by Villa Capri. It was quite an evening. A little anecdote on that before I go forward is that when Five Flights Up started the evening, they were the first of the 3 acts, the echo chamber went nuts when J.B. Bingham started his first notes. And we had to stop the whole proceeding with the full orchestra waiting and all the people from town coming to see it and get the echo chambers fixed and start all over again. And champions that they were, Five Flights Up, J.B. Bingham and Five Flights Up, never missed a beat, didn't faze them, and they performed beautifully, as did all 3 acts. So, confident that we were going to have deals, Carol and I celebrated and said, wow, that went great. And the ball is in Al Schlesinger's hand to follow through with whatever interest came up after that show. Well, Mike Curb's label was interested in Five Flights Up. Capitol Records was interested in Sound 70, which was Clarence McDonald's group. He had been the very, very talented vocal arranger for the Friends of Distinction before being dissed by Jim Brown in the group. And I don't remember what label was interested in Charlene Gibson, but there was one. Charlene had sung the lead for the Friends of Distinction's big hit, Lover Let Me Be Lonely, which had just been on the charts. So I thought, hey, this is a sizzling hot time for my career, so I'm just going to turn the ball over to Al Schlesinger, who said, I got it, John. And Carol and I came back to Phoenix to vacation with friends and celebrate the start of my going independent in the music business. Well, Al Schlesinger, my RCA boss's Joe Reisman's attorney, dropped the ball, didn't follow through on any of the acts. I called him when I got back from Phoenix and said, Al, how are we doing on our record deals? And he said, oh, John, I need to apologize to you. I was in the process of changing my law practices at the time, and I totally dropped the ball. So here are very young John and Carol Flores in our early 20s, taking a step out into the real world after being protected within the halls of the RCA building. And not only did we spend our savings account on this coming out party, but we had no deals. Thank God for Eddie Rosenblatt signing Five Flights Up, just saying, I'll trust you. And as I mentioned in an earlier episode, James Bingham and Five Flights Up sang around an acoustic guitar, not full orchestra, for Eddie Rosenblatt to remind him what they sounded like, and then he signed them. Also an aside on that, Eddie said, sounds great, want to sign them, John, you go in the other room, and Carol and I will talk business and do the deal. That's very typical because as Jay Cooper and Chuck Hurwitz, who were the attorneys that I used after Al Schlesinger, told me, anytime you want to make a deal, you go in, you talk music, and then zip it. Don't say another word. We'll talk business for you. It's a horrible businessman. Okay, so Five Flights Up, boy oh boy, we had 3 chart records. The first one, Do What You Want to Do, did really well because Eddie Rosenblatt was promoting it for Talent Associates Records. Talent Associates was the finest small label I've ever worked for. And it was Steve Bender, fabulous, fabulous TV producer, Elvis specials, Grammy Awards, etc. And just a gentleman. He was president, and Eddie Rosenblatt was head of sales and promotion. Lambert and Potter, Dennis Lambert, Brian Potter, were also producers there. They were having a hit at the time with One Tin Soldier for the label, and they were fabulous singer-songwriters that went on for a marvelous career at ABC Dental Records after this. And last but not least, the only other artist on the label was this new group called Seals and Croft. Oh my. They went on to have big success at Warner's, where Eddie went over and signed him once he left for Warner Brothers. So here we are with this marvelously talented group of people, and we've got a hit going with One Tin Soldier, which was Lambert and Potter's tune and production, and we've got Five Flights Up with Do What You Want to Do, and then Eddie was fired. And I know Steve Bender didn't want to fire him, but David Susskind, the legendary TV producer who owned the label, asked that Eddie be fired. At least that's what I was told. So now we have a label with a TV guy in charge of it, no real promotion, and Five Flights Up's career was in trouble from that point on. They would never have any more major hits. Their second single, After the Feeling Is Gone, Steve Wax at Bell Records, that distributed Talent Associates, said it was one of 3 records that were just smash hits that he was unable to promote, and he feels badly about it until this very day. But before Eddie Rosenblatt left the label, he and I signed Linda Seals, who was a 17-year-old singer that sounded like she was 35 or 40. She had this mature, low, wonderful voice. And as I've said before, I cut jazz ballads on her, then I tried covers on her, and then finally we came out with Angel of the Morning, which finally was what we were looking for. And at that point, Bell Records dropped Talent Associates and was no longer their distributor. So not only didn't we have any promotion, we had no distribution. The label was in trouble and the label folded. And boy, I loved my time with those guys at Talent Associates. A highlight in my life. In retrospect, had I signed Five Flights Up to RCA, which is where I found them in my final days at RCA, I believe Five Flights Up might have had a much more productive career there and had several albums released there. As it was, and this is Linda Seals' Angel of the Morning, and her entire album was never released, sitting on the shelves at Talent Associates. Five Flights Up album, never released, sitting on the shelf at Talent Associates, never heard by a soul. Either of these 2 artists. We spent months in the studio, 2 different artists, Five Flights Up and Linda Seals, and neither album was released. Meanwhile, I'm back on the street and I'm looking for a job. Nothing's happening for me at all. I had great royalty rates and great pay with Talent Associates, but hey, I had left the protective environment of RCA, went out on the street, had 2 albums sitting on the shelf, no income coming in, had spent for a coming out party, and I was in trouble. My father said several years later, John, do you think you should have stayed at RCA? You know, that's a tough question because I made significant money as an independent producer that I never would have made at RCA. Hundreds of thousands of dollars, not millions like several of my peers, but I did just fine, not just as a producer, but as a provider for my family. However, but in terms of an emotional fit, hell yes, I should have stayed at RCA. That was my family. That's where I was found. That's where I was nurtured. And it was safe. I didn't have to go out on the street and schmooze. And boy, was I unprepared to schmooze. I mean, I had no clue what I was doing. I was protected from the street realities of being in the music business. Not making records, being in the music business, which was a business of business deals. Okay, I guess that'll do it for now. As always, I'm glad you watched, and here we go with Five Flights Up and Linda Seals. Okay, hope you enjoy it. Take care. Thanks. Bye-bye.
So you just do what you wanna do. 'Cause when I get tired of playing the fool, I'll just go out and find me someone new. did.